Welcome everybody to the Limit Podcast. Matt Gibson here, your host. Season 1, episode 10. It's hard to believe we're already 10 episodes in, but man, thank you to all of our subscribers, all of our followers. It's been great so far. It's been awesome. I know Phil and I have really enjoyed sharing all of our knowledge with you and having these great guests with us here in the Midwest. Things are starting to heat up a little bit. Phil and I were actually out on the lake together. It was early or late last week, and the topwater bite's starting to get there. And when I start thinking topwater, man, I start thinking about them frogs. I mean, there is no better way to catch them than a frog. And today we have the honor of bringing on the man himself, the movie star from Bass the Movie, and many others, Mr. Bobby Barrack. Bobby, welcome to the podcast, buddy.
Man, it's great to be here. It's always great. It's always great to talk fishing with guys that love to fish. I got so many buddies. We're in Northeast Texas, and these guys eat, sleep, breathe it, all of it, and just like you guys do. That whole Minnesota crew, that Wisconsin group, and Florida. The South Texas guys, Rayburn and all that. They're more prima donna kind of guys, But not to say, but them guys can fish. Don't get me wrong. But these guys here, these rednecks around here, even the rednecks down there in Piney Woods, man, they got their 4-wheel drive trucks, and they got their little lady, and they got their bass boat behind that truck, and that's what. If they're not talking about it, they're listening to it. They're listening to podcasts like yours, or they're talking. It's just that's what they do. It's what all the lakes around here. It's amazing, and I don't know what it's like around your place, but holidays, Saturdays, Sundays. There's dad, there's mom, and there's the 2 kids in the boat.
That's
and
beautiful.
You want to talk about something that's great to see.
Yes.
It is awesome.
Absolutely. Especially this day and age when there's so many other things that they could be out doing and
absolutely
seeing people still fishing is just great and enjoying the outdoors. It's tremendous. And we here in Indiana, we were really proud of we used to have the largest bass nation in the country, which is hard to believe, coming from a state here that we don't have a tremendous amount of opportunities as far as waters and things like that. But man, we are passionate about our fishing here.
Sure, absolutely.
So you it looks like you've been really busy. I've been seeing some of your stuff, and we've been a lot of videos, a lot of things going on, and a lot of baits coming out, a lot of frogs, a lot of different things coming out. So it looks like you've had your hands full fishing.
Yeah, that's for sure. With Snag Proof, I stayed on with Snag Proof. Snag Proof's been around since 1964. I'm 61, and I was born in 64, so 61 years. Wow, that's pretty good, Bobby. I didn't even need a calculator. But and Snag Proof sold in 15 or 16 from Cincinnati, Ohio, and they got sold to an outfit out there in California, and man, it took a real hard hit. They had a bunch of people manufacturing the product that weren't fishermen, which the brand struggled a lot. And then it got sold to another company that they weren't really fishermen. And then ABW bought it. ABW's got their fishermen from the top. Bass and Bobby is what he's the boss. He owns the whole thing, the ABW brand, and he's a fisherman, and he that's his hobby. He's a businessman, but fishing's his hobby. He loves it. It's his passion. So he accumulated these businesses that he likes to do. He likes throwing plastics. He loves throwing frogs. Let me get a couple frog companies. Let me get some plastic. I got to have the rod to do it. He's got his halo rods and all that. So that's why that company is doing what it's doing now. And they're charging. And so I got a couple of things. I know I don't want to turn this into a commercial, but I am going to show you the products that I represent and some of the different versions of the topwater weedless baits that are available that we've been working on through the years since ABW took over. Now we've got some of the finished products. The Zoo series was released last year and a half ago, and they're just going to keep expanding on it. And every one of them's got its own purpose for the different types of fishing that you have in Indiana, in Wisconsin, after ice out, in Canada. A lot of these guys are from Canada. They bass fish and smallmouth fish in Canada and all that, after ice out and all that, of course. But and then Bobby, he's got his place down in Florida and all that. So anyway, but this is one of the new baits right here. This is the zoo wake, and which used to be the old wiggle wog. I got the limit there. I don't know if I got. Am I okay? Am I still there?
Yep.
Okay, I lost the feed on that. Anyway, this is the zoo wake. It's kind of a wake bait that comes to the weedless wake bait that comes to the lily. I love throwing it in lily pads, hay grass, American pondweed, elodea, milfoil, Ageria densa, all the different types of vegetations that along reeds. Just great stuff. We were talking about family fishing. This is the kind of bait that you can give to a 5-year-old and put it on a Zebco 202, and he can wing it around, and he can actually catch fish with it, and he's not going to get, his little sister stuck or whatever it may be. But Dad, who's a seasoned veteran in the front of the boat, can also use this to win the next tournament that's on his local lake. So very, very good stuff. It's stuff that's very user friendly, but you can also win tournaments with it. Like this bait right here. This is one of the new hot. Well, it's not one of the new hot bait. It's the hot bait that we've had since the Zoo series came out, and that's the Zoo Pop. And I wanted to. This is what they look like when they're new. That is a Zoo Pop. It's like the old. I got one right here. It's like the old Pop Bar. It's like the old Yellow Magic, the Rico, and all that kind of stuff. But it is weedless. It doesn't have 2 treble hooks that hang down, so you can use this in and around all vegetation. You can use this next to dock. With a double treble hook bait, you have to be so careful. And you go to throw it. There's a tree next to a dock, and you want to get it right up next to the shade of that tree next to that dock. And there's some ropes on the dock, and there's a boat tied up to the dock. There's a lot of things going on that obstruct your target. So with a double treble hook bait, you tend to be short a lot, or you tend to have to go over there and untangle the treble hooks that are now in that rope that are on that dock. With this stuff here, with the Zoo series stuff, you don't have those issues, but you still have the characteristics of those types of baits, like a popping bait. As far as I'm concerned, in the spring months, I like to use the walking frogs. Just the standard, like here, I've got the Bobby's Perfect, just the standard run-of-the-mill weedless frog that you would walk, sit, throw at specific targets, let it sit, bob the nose, walk it a little bit, let it sit again. That's what I use a lot. I go from this, late February, March, April, I will start to incorporate the poppin' style baits like this here. And again, I'm doing this around shallow vegetation, as shallow as I can possibly get. My favorite zone, my favorite depth for all topwater, especially this stuff, the weedless stuff, is 6 to 18 inches. That's my happy zone. That's where I want to be. That's where a lot of these fish do their business, or that's where they like to hang out. Maybe their beds are in 2, 3, 4 feet of water, but they like to be in anything that's hanging over the bank. That dock we were talking about earlier with the tree next to it, that's got the boat next to it. They like to hang out next to that while they've got their bed right over here. Sun's up, it's exposed. Let me hang out over here, but keep an eye on my bed. This is a great way to get aggressive in those shallow areas with lots of obstructions. The Zoo series, especially the pop. We are in a still kind of a spawn situation here in Texas, and in the South, Mississippi, Arkansas, all that. It's still a bit of a spawning type of a situation, but we got a lot of post-spawn stuff going on.
Okay.
For whatever reason, once those fish get into that post-spawn thing, the poppin' baits, this guy here, any of your poppin' type baits, again, the Ricos, if you're fishing offshore out in front of that stuff and you like using the double pop, this is a great time for the pop R, the Ricos, and the splashes, like I said. But at Snag Proof, we've got some poppin' style baits also. We got the Smash Mouth that you can get extremely, and you can, this bait right here, it's got some big old nasty hooks on it, which is amazing. That's one of my favorite features of this bait. But you can throw this guy into a hay bale and get it out, no problem. This guy, same thing. I need to tell you about this guy though. I started messing around with this again. This Zoo Pop is something I kept this one. This one is absolutely hammered. I have caught so many good fish on this thing over the last 2-3 weeks. I've got this thing just about wore out, but I need to call the company because I need a few more. I'm down to my last 2, and I've got a tournament this Saturday, so I'm kind of getting stingy. I'm kind of saving. But this guy right here, right now, I'm either, if I see a bed that's really shallow but a dock next to it, I'm bumping the dock. I'm throwing this on top of the dock, pulling it into the water, letting it splash in. I can't do that with the treble hook bait. I just can't. But this guy, I can throw it right on top of that dock, pull it across, let it blop in the water, or I can throw it sidearm and skip it underneath that dock. This guy is just amazing. And I've caught him. One of my videos, I think one of my Instagrams I put up maybe within the last 5 days. If you go to Bobby Barrack 1 on Instagram, you'll see it. It's got this guy, and I catch one about 6 pounds. I was fishing this over the top of deeper beds that were in about that 3 to 5 zone. You can barely see him. If it gets overcast, you can't see him. The only time you can see him is when it's bright skies and no wind. So I know they're there. I'm blop, 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 long throw, 65 braid, blop, blop, blop. And I'm getting these fish to charge through that 3 feet, 5 feet of water to get this guy. How come this is my favorite pattern. This is yellow perch. If I'm fishing around beds and I'm fishing for bass, whether it's with a weedless bait from Snag Proof, or if I am using an old school Pop-R or a Rico or something like that, or an Iovino Splash It, which I've got some great videos on YouTube about the Iovino Splash It, I'm using the perch pattern. There's a couple of things that Mama Bass doesn't like, especially after she's in the recovery room. She's done her thing. She's done spawning. She's not really in the mood to be chasing bluegill around. She's not in the mood to be chasing shad around. If a crawdad comes out of his hole and he's nice and accessible, she'll have that right there. It's going to take her a little bit to get her legs under her. I mean, get her fins under her. But in the meantime, very angry. She's very agitated by these guys. She doesn't want bluegill around her babies. That's her next gen, and she's mama bear now. And so when these guys show up, those bluegill or baby bass, well, either one of those guys get in her little vicinity, her little world, especially when she's in one of those moods, she clobbers these guys. So that's why this is my go-to color almost exclusively during that post-spawn phase. And I throw bluegill frog. I always got a bluegill frog on. If I'm fishing I'm going to bouncing all over the place. And I don't know if I'm making any sense. But your standard frog like this in a bluegill pattern, if I'm fishing lily pads, or if I'm fishing a heavy grass that's got small little openings where it allows a light, where if they're sitting down there, they can actually see what color that is on the top. I got to have a bluegill. My bluegill is my ultimate follow-up frog, the bluegill pattern. They just don't, they eat them because they're hungry, or they'll snap at them, or they'll eat them, or they will clobber them because they're agitated by them because of the mood, because of the season that they're in.
So Bobby, when do you select that zoot pop versus a poppin' frog? Like, what's the determination there between those two?
Man, I'll tell you what, that is an absolutely fantastic question that I ask myself all the time. The biggest difference between this one right here, and I should have brought, I can't bring my whole shop over here, but I've got my favorite smash mouth, of course, is the smash mouth bluegill. I've always got that bait tied on either on the deck of my boat or it's in my rod locker tied on. This thing in the bluegill pattern, the Snag Proof smash mouth. I've caught so many 3.5 to 6.5 pound bass on it in the lily pads. It's just got a great paint job. I can walk this thing. It's a great visual. It's the 3D printing that they do on these things is absolutely perfect. So big, smart Florida strain bass, which is a lot of the lakes that I target have got big, smart Florida strain bass. They're the type that have been there, done that. They've seen it all. So you got to kind of trick them and fake them out. Yeah. And with the smash mouth bluegill, I can bloop, bloop, bloop. If they're in that kind of a mood, this one spits water as good as a Rico. It is amazing. Or if it's more subtle conditions, I've got this guy here. If I've got a little bit of wind, little bit of breeze, overcast, low light levels, maybe first thing in the morning, it's this guy. This guy's got a lot more presence. If the water's a little more stained, it's a little bit bigger target, a little bit bigger bait. The biggest difference between these two, they have a very similar spitting sound. Both of these two. Color patterns, it's pretty much a wash. The big difference with this guy right here is that right there, that mylar in the tail. That mylar alone generates so many bites, which is a good thing, and sometimes it can be a little bit of a hindrance. If you've got post-spawn males, if you're in a spawning area where most of the females have completely backed off, it's now a month after the major spawn, dad's out there, he's watching the kids, mama's like, I'm out, I'm going to go sit on the beach. This guy right here, you will get so many bites that you don't catch. I can't stick them. I can't catch. You can't catch that fish. When you're using this bait around spawning area, post-spawn males or the standard frog, and they keep biting that thing, pulling down, you swing, oh man, I need to put treble hooks on it. I need to open my hooks up. You might need a nose pliers. Man, don't go through all that stuff. Those post-spawn males, on some day, they're just impossible to catch at times because they never get the hook in their mouth. You can sit there and wait and count to 100, and that fish is never going to continue to swallow and eat up the bait to where he gets the hooks in him. It's not going to happen. He's going to take that down. He's going to move it. He's going to let it go, come back and watch the kids. He is not in a feeding mode. And that's when guys get faked out the most. There are times where you go through those areas where those males are actually guarding fry, where they will act almost like they're feeding, where they're eating it. They're actually eating the bait. That's not going to last all day long, believe me. It'll be a 15-minute thing, it'll be a 35-minute thing, and then it's over. So, but the biggest difference between the two, more subtle conditions, clearer water, and that mylar. That mylar helps generate so many bites for this bait right here, just like your standard splash it, pop R, or the Rico. They got that back there for a reason. And it was one of the great, I don't know who that guy was that decided to hang some of that shiny chandelier stuff on the back of a poppin' style bait, but kudos to you because that was a brilliant move, and the industry's never been the same since.
Yeah, it's a great ad for sure. So we've kind of talked about it, kind of hit all around it. You, in my opinion, are the frog master when it comes to anything. I mean, I remember. So I had an uncle that he moved out to California, and I remember him coming back one summer. And when he came back one summer, he brought a Bobby's Perfect Frog with him. And I remember seeing that thing and going, "Wow, that is wild!" Because we were used to like the old scum frogs and those things. And then when they brought that bait in, or when my uncle brought that bait out, I was like, "Oh my god!" And all the colors. And that's really what started my frog fishing addiction. And it has been an addiction over the years. Sometimes I try to force it more than others. But as far as rod, reel, like what is the perfect setup for you, in your opinion, for frog fishing?
For me, the perfect setup is I tell you what, I got so much going on here. This is my Bobby's Perfect Frog rod from iRod. This one is 7 foot 9 inches. I've got one that's 7 foot 2 inches. They're both the same blank. Some guys just like that 7 to 7.3 for throwing the frogs. I get it. Everybody that is that 7.1 to 7.3 guy that I have got to catch a couple of 3-pounders with this, they now have 2 to 6 of these. I learned this a long time ago when Gary Dobbins and I were team partners back in the early 90s on the California Delta. And he was with Lama Glass Rods, and I was with Bass Pro Shops winter Christmas catalog where you buy 2, get 1 free, Bionic Blades. Yeah. That was my rod sponsor. And Gary said, I had 6'6" power hump handle Bass Pro Shop rods. And Gary said, hey dude, pick up that spinnerbait and throw it over there. And I grabbed that spinnerbait. It was a DC spinnerbait, chartreuse blue, double gold. half ounce, and I threw it over there he had 20-pound big game on that thing. And I threw it over there, and I caught a 2.5 or a 3-pounder. And I just immediately went, whoa. And so I want to do this again. I kept throwing that spinnerbait. And I remember him saying, dude, you better put that rod down, dude. You're going to go get yourself a bunch of them. And he was right. Because after I caught a couple of 3-pounders with that 8-foot Lamiglass, because there was an 8-foot, all my rods went to 8-foot. I used 8-foot for everything. I used 8-foot for everything. Flipping, zero spooks, buzz baits, everything. I had an 806 Lamiglass. Since then, I have I backed it off, and I'm just a lot more comfortable with that 7'9", 7'10" range size. And the trick with my frog rod, I had a frog rod with Falcon rods, and that was a really stout rod. It was a 7'10" rod, and it was a more parabolic type of a rod. That rod was built to get 4 to 11 pound bass out of extremely heavy grass, extremely heavy hydrilla, extremely heavy Eladia, extremely heavy American pondweed. Because the rods that I was using the 806 Lamiglass, but it just wasn't right. It was almost there, but it just wasn't right. Yeah. And so when I built my rod, the 710, I wanted something that was stout, that I can move, that I can pull an 8-pound. I gotta have it. If I get bit by a 7 to 9 pound bass, especially when the clock's ticking in a tournament, I gotta have this fish in my live well. And I was losing so many of the California Delta it's like what OHIV is now. It used to be the bass factory of just giants. Yep. And we caught so many over 10, it was just staggering. But that, and then I had Tackle Tech. We started working on a different rod, and I said, I want that 7.9, but I want like not a real 70-30. It's a 68-32, and it's that fine tuned. This rod right here, we got 40 years of work into this thing. It's 40 years of frogging knowledge that has been built into this rod right here. It is absolutely perfect. The main thing, I've caught thousands and thousands of frogfish from 1 pound to over 13 pounds. I got a real good idea what a guy wants in a frog rod for open water, for heavy vegetation, for light vegetation, all of it. That's where we went with this guy here. And I film a lot. So I critique myself. Why did that fish come off? Why did that fish come off? And I'll go frame by frame by frame. That one there, your feet weren't right. That one there, your hips were off. You had your rod pointed back at your partner. Why are you doing this? Your shoulders are turned. That one is a mechanical thing. That one is an equipment failure thing. That's your rod. That's your rod. That's your rod. Your rod, you got too much juice in that rod. When you're swinging on these fish, when you're hitting these fish, you are moving these fish. You're launching these fish. We can't have that. We can't do that. Because if you're going to swing, if you're going to use a pull cue to throw a frog in open water around that dock that we were talking about in this podcast, open water situation, 3.5 pound, 4-pound bass, eats this thing. If you're overpowered with your frog rod and you hit that thing and you launch that fish, when you swing on that fish, your rod is candy cane. And then as that fish is coming towards you, if I'm filming you and I slow it down and it's frame by frame, I'm watching the arc in your rod. If you're throwing a frog and you got bit and you set the hook and you were like this, if your frog rod ever does this, the chances of you losing that fish are about 80%. So when you hit that fish, you want that rod to load up. And the only way it's going to maintain this arc, we don't want that. That's way too fast. That's like the old school Loomis rod. We want something that's about like that. We want something about like that, where you got a lot of backbone here. It's a 68-32. It's not 70-30. It's not 80-20. Because when we set that guy, we want to keep that guy in that arc right there. And the only way we're going to do that is by having a reel that you can maintain that arc with. You want a rod that when you hit that fish, you didn't do this and it went like that, and then you went like this again and that fish jumped and came off, and then your rod went like this again. So to eliminate all that, we're going to start with the rod. We got to right, because once all this happens in the blink of an eye, and everything that I just mentioned happens, and you watch it in front of you, and it was a 9-pound bass, and you've never caught a 9-pound bass before, that was your moment. That was your Boone and Crockett bass.
Yeah.
And it just came off. And you think about, you know what, that guy was talking about that. When I hit that fish, I moved that. That fish came out of the water. And then when I caught back, and she was over here in front of me, I'm trying to catch up to this fish. And I got a 7-to-1 gear ratio reel, or I got 7-2, or whatever. And right when I caught back up to that fish and I could feel my rod load again, she jumped and came off. Or I caught back up just as I felt her let it go. Oh no. So let's start at the beginning. Get the bite, set the hook. We got the nice arc. Let's keep that rod with that arc right there during the whole situation. When those hooks are like that, and you don't back off on that, and that line stays tight like that, now you're at about 85, 90% that you're going to get your hands on the thing, get a picture of it, or it's going to your live well to take to the scales. So the rod is huge. The reel, whatever brand you want to use, I like 7.5 to 8.3. I tried the 9.1s and all that kind of stuff. I'm good. 7.5, 8.3, right in there. You don't want to, I don't think you want to get too high with your gear ratios. Because when you're in pads and you're, it's like in Ish Monroe, good friend of mine. He said this one time. He said it's almost like going uphill with a 10-speed, as opposed to going uphill with a mountain bike. When you're in that, if you're going to go 9.0 with your frog reel, you're going uphill on a 10-speed. And if you go 7.5, 8.3, now you're trying to go uphill with a mountain bike. It just makes more sense, right?
Yep.
So that's a good deal. 65 braid if I'm making long throws. Open water type of situation around docks, fence rows, that kind of stuff. Not a lot of stuff I'm gonna get in a whole lot of trouble with. Maybe some laydowns here and there, but that's the difference in these two right here. I've got one with green. I look down and it's green. That's 65. That's the one I'm throwing long distances. That's why I've got 65. And that's the other thing that you can do with that zoo pop. I can tie that to 65. You can't tie a Rico to 65. I'm telling you, that's gonna be a disaster. And then the black, whenever I look down, I got black, that's 80. If I'm around wood, especially willow trees, especially cypress trees, I've got to have 80. It's amazing the damage. I get extremely aggressive with my casts. I got to get in there. I want to be in there with them. And so I'm going to spend a lot of time today. Not a lot of time, but I am going to spend some time today going to extract my bait out. After I get done, I will give it a little bit of this, but I will never pull so hard that I could possibly mess up the integrity of these hooks. I do not want these hooks to bend out at all. So if I get hung up, I will shake my line. I will pull lightly to see if it shake, pull, and then I will go get. I'm not going to be this guy. Nope, because now I've got it. Now I got a rooster over there. Doggone it. Now I've got to hang on. I got to go get this frog. It's in that. She's got one of them roosters over there, and it got stuck in there. Now I've got to go get that frog because I don't want to damage these hooks. I don't ever want to take my needle nose pliers to these hooks. If I take my needle nose pliers to these hooks, they're going in the garbage. I won't take my needle nose pliers to these hooks. If for whatever reason, somebody, one of the guys that I'm fishing with or whatever, oh man, don't we'll go get it. I got it. And you get it back, and one of those hooks is like this. Yeah, we just take that hook out, and that one's out of the game. We throw him away.
Yeah, especially with your hook design here, Bobby. Like there's curvatures on that hook. There's things designed into that hook that I can imagine if you bend it, it's not going to perform like it was.
Yes, and you want like with my perfect frog hook. I mean, that we don't call this a perfect frog by accident. This thing right here it's perfect, man. It is perfect. It is absolutely amazing. I can throw this guy wherever I want to and get it back. There will be times where I will throw it and it will pop, pop, pop. It will go down through, and body will collapse, and one of these hooks will get stuck into something. That's going to happen for sure.
Yep.
But it gets stuck in a bass's mouth a lot, and because of the way that it's designed. And I get my hands on a whole bunch of them because of the way this thing's designed. I just love this thing. It's amazing. But this is go ahead. I'm sorry, Matt.
No, you're good.
Don't say, if you don't say anything, I'm just gonna keep rambling. So
No,
this will be about a 6 or 7 hour show. As long as we don't start talking about moons and tides and all that kind of stuff, we can probably keep this thing under 6 hours. But if we start talking about moons and tides and all that kind of stuff, we're gonna have to book these guys for about every Wednesday for the next 3 months. So we won't take it that deep.
Go ahead, Phil.
Huh?
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if it's somebody close to me got some kind of electronic something, so I know it's gone a little. But in your opinion, what's the best walking frog? Like a lot of lakes, don't have grass or
can't hear.
And a lot of guys are just skipping them under overhangs. Which one do you think
walks
the best?
I couldn't hear there for a second.
Yeah, so he was asking about walking frogs. He was saying, walking frog versus a popping frog. What's your opinion on those, and kind of which one are you aiming at when, in what situations? So kind of frog selection. I know there are guys that love to skip a frog as well. So kind of application wise, are you looking like at the fat frog to probably skip with, or are you looking at the Bobby's perfect frog to skip with, and kind of the reasoning behind those?
The frog that I skip with is that guy right there.
Okay.
And I'm going to start showing some video next week of this guy skipping that you're going to be very impressed with. Before this guy showed up, if I'm going to skip a frog, I would use the fat frog. The fat frog skips better than the perfect frog for sure. So that is a great question about the whole walking thing. If you're going to walk a frog, unless you got two guys in the boat that have two different styles, two different techniques, it's hard. I like to do just a standard. Let's just start with this. It's first thing in the morning. This thing doesn't exist. Okay, let's pretend like this doesn't exist.
Okay.
So we're gonna do this walking frog thing. I'm gonna have one that's a dark color, and I'm gonna have one that's a light color. And I'm probably if they're eating the frog really, really good. I've got two frogs in my rod locker at all times, so I don't clutter up the deck of my boat. I got two frogs in my rod locker at all times. Maybe one's on the deck. Maybe they're both on the deck. Maybe those are the only two I got on the deck. I'm gonna have this color right here, which is duckling. I'm going to have bluegill. Those are the two that I'm going to probably almost always start with. Unless there's just a predominant, got to have a black one. Black, if you throw a black frog, get hung up on the black frog, and that's the only color frog you have in your box, you're in great shape. You are good for you.
Yeah.
Me, I got to mess around with all this other stuff. Okay. But I don't want to get too crazy and too carried away with it. But the walking of this guy right here, let's say I start in the morning with the duckling. If the bite is good and I can tell it's a high activity level day, so I got, in my kooky little world, I got 14 days that have like 4 to 5 star days. Okay, I'm going to start with this guy here. Any of those, if I'm outside of those 14 or 15 days, this guy is not. This guy is going to be in the rod locker. And my bluegill one's going to be in the rod locker. I'm probably going to have it's going to be a vanilla chocolate thing. It's going to be either a white one or a black one. But if I know it's a high lunar day, and the chances are that the frog bite's going to be very good, I'm going to be using this guy, and I'm probably never going to put this down. If I get 10 bites if I catch 10 bass with this, me and you are fishing in the same boat, and it's one of those days where I can get 10 bites on this duckling color. If I get 10 bites and you get 10 bites and we're both pretty good frog fishermen, we're going to catch 85% of those bass. We're going to get our hands on them. My best 5 are going to probably weigh 2 to 4 pounds more than yours, just because of this color. It's just the way it is. And when you take this color you do this to it, that's different level stuff. This is special. This is beyond special. This is glide bait stuff. This is depths 250 stuff, as far as I'm concerned, in my kooky little world. Mm-hmm. When you get them to start eating this, and I'm going to compare my 10 fish against your 10 fish, there's going to be those days where you're going to get me. But overall, over the long haul, you can't touch this. You just can't, because of my color choice, because of my choice in color. This color scheme right here gets bit by big ones. It's very appealing to large, high quality bass.
I have never ever thought about color with size of fish. I've never put that together, I guess.
So, with what you just said, now didn't you say that you watched T-Fit 1 and T-Fit 2, my DVDs that I put out?
Absolutely.
So there was a section in there where I explained that color.
Tweety, right?
Tweety,
yep.
Exactly. And my thing, because of where I spent about 8,000 days fishing on the California Delta, guiding, tournament, recreation, all that stuff. And the forage and the different seasons and what the fit, when they're looking up, what they're looking for, blackbirds. We got grackles around here, sparrows, building their mud huts. My sparrow frog, if I'm around Union Point, all them little boat docks, Discovery Bay, wherever it was, I knew where all them sparrows did underneath them docks on Salmon Slough. I know which ones had sparrow huts. I knew which ones did. I knew which low bridges had them sparrow huts, and I knew which ones didn't. In May and first part of June, then little sparrows and little babies, they fall out of the nest, and bass know it. They know it. They're looking up. They're opportunistic feeders. I got that cream-colored sparrow frog on at all times during that situation. For that reason, I caught some of the most giant, my clients caught some giant bass on that sparrow frog in those situations. That's where, and this guy here, you got yellow-headed blackbirds. Scott Green from Clear Lake is the one that came up with this back in 90, it was 97, 99, something like that.
Okay.
He had won a tournament, and he had a couple of 8-pounders, and he went to get his fish to put them in the bag, and there was a couple of yellow-headed blackbirds that were coughed up. And so he called Connie, and he told Connie, I need some yellow-headed frogs. This is with Connie Ellers at one of the, she was the daughter of the original owner. And so she made him, and she sent him out to Scott, and the rest was history. If you're at Clear Lake, California, you better have this guy. You absolutely better. The lake that I've been fishing, one of the key lakes that I've been fishing, we have Lake of the Pines here. Like even on Rayburn, when I fished Rayburn a lot, I got him to eat this guy pretty good, late April, into that April, May thing. Yeah. And then again in the fall, you got Orioles, you got yellow-headed blackbirds, you got a lot of them little finches and little yellow finches, Tweety finches, as the button willows and a lot of the shrubbery around these lakes, as they start to get their green leaves, that's when you start to notice that all them finches, them little yellow finches, are migrating through. And bass know it. They're looking up, and you special. And that thing there, it shows up good in the lily pad. I think it's a color that shows up good. Yeah. And it's also a color that I think a lot of them think it's a bird. It's a bird. And when, 3-pounders, I've caught a lot of 3-pounders with that, but 3-pounders don't really get up in the morning going and thinking that they're going to have a bird for lunch. But I think that 5+, maybe that's like something that they might be kind of creeping around looking for. When we did Bass, funny you mentioned Bass the movie. One of the things I had mentioned, I was talking to John Sherman about the blackbird assassinations that I've seen on the California Delta. Yep. I've seen a few of those. The assassinations of baby ducks. They always eat the last one in line. There's mama's got 6, and that was one of the other things that I always paid attention when I fished marinas, Holland Track Marina, or if I was up at Clear Lake fishing some of them dead end cuts. I always in May, first part of June. Which ones had the baby ducks in them? Which ones are there? Okay, mama's over there. She's got a bunch of them. Okay, the mama's over there. She's only got 6. That mama's there. She's got 10. Wow. Okay, there's probably no good fish around there. This was part of my
looking
at it,
Right.
And then I go in, then I go over there to Land's End, and I look in there, and she's got one. She's got three.
Yeah.
I'm going to start here tomorrow morning. So that, I mean, it's all intertwined. It's all intertwined. I think it's all intertwined. And if it's not, it works for me. And if it works for me right here, it's going to work for me with that thing in my hands. I'm telling you. So.
Yeah, that's good enough, right? Like it's getting you somewhere. It's pointing you a direction. You got some confidence in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that because there's around here we have a lot of red-winged blackbirds.
Yes.
And so I've been toying around with some of those frogs that kind of have that color pattern, and it does seem like, man, they will grab them and
absolutely
really
100%. We used to have the redhead with the black body,
okay.
and the reason Connie stopped making it is because we didn't sell. But everybody that was a real frog guy had a half a dozen of those. Because there was that period of time. My cousins here, they have the Kicks Big Bass Tournament over there on the Lake of the Pines. And some of my cousins here, every once in a while, those red wings will show up. It's like very seldom where the Orioles and the Red Wings and the Yellowheads all be together at the same time. It's like one's here, they finish. Red-winged blackbirds and blackbirds, they love, and yellowhead blackbirds too. They love to build their nest inside the bulrushes, the tules.
Mm-hmm.
That's where you don't see them.
Yeah.
You'll see them in the evenings. That's the best. I used to get in my boat in the evenings and just go for a ride along the hyacinth. They will build their nest in the hyacinth, the big leafy hyacinth. They get so dense and thick, raccoons can't get to them. They're brilliant. They're so smart. The coons can't get it. They can't smell them. You know, it's like, how do these guys survive? The coons can find anything and everything.
Yep.
But how come all these birds make it? Because they're smart. They outsmart the predator. Some of the tule, I would, especially in the evenings, that's when they give themselves up. They go get the bugs and all that kind of stuff that's around the tules, around the low tide. They walk the shorelines. But I would go find the hyacinth where I would just go, and they'd all come up and then they'd land again. They'd all come up and they'd land again. And they would stop right. You have 100 yards of hyacinth, but they were in this 30 yards. I was like, okay, just make some mental notes. Okay, cool. Cross from that blue house to that yellow house with that cool dock with the slide. Money. I'm starting here tomorrow morning. And then just cruise and then go to another marina, go to another section. In the evenings when they showed themselves. During the day, you'd never know there was a bird there. You'd never know that there was a bunch of nests somewhere. And then you turn that outside first thing in the morning, pop, walking that stuff, doing this black wobbletron. I used to call it the wobbletron. On the outside edge of that stuff, black wobbletron. That is a bird, man.
Yeah.
Chirp, 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 chirp. I call it the Texas double chirp. Chirp, 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 chirp. Oh, yeah. What'd they think that thing was?
Yeah.
Somebody you've seen a bird struggling when it's in the water trying to get it. It's sad. But when they eat this, it's not sad. It's kind of fun.
Yeah.
But
so with that zoo kick, you're not necessarily just swimming it all the time. You're pulling it. You're walking it. You're
man. That is a great. Whew. This guy right here is a target bait as far as I'm concerned. We were just talking about, I never did get around to the walking thing. Whenever I walk a frog, very seldom will I walk a frog more than 10, 12 feet. I am throwing I'm throwing right where I think that joker is. I'm going to let it sit. If my trolling motor's on 1.5, I'm letting it sit. I'm bobbing the first movement, bob the nose. Oh, I have caught so many 4 to 10 pound, 4 to 11 pound bass within 6 inches of where this guy landed. Because of casting ability, because of being conscious of the approach, how it lands, all that. If they don't eat it it settles. First movement, just bob the nose. Ooh, lots of those. and then I'll walk it. I'll walk this thing 1, 2, 3, sit, bob, because you drew her out. Maybe she's a little bit deeper inside that little pocket. And then I will walk it maybe this far, and then I'm to the next spot. I mean, really, with my walking frogs, the average length of me walking a frog 3.5, 4 feet max.
So you're target rich environment is where you're throwing that, and boom, boom, no reaction, you're done.
Absolutely. Now, pads, offshore grass mats. Like tomorrow, I'm going to a lake that's got some grass it's going to be 90 tomorrow with no wind. I'm going there for a reason. 2 reasons, multiple reasons. A lot of it evolve around all this stuff. I know where those Orioles are nesting. I know where I'm going to be early because I know that them chicks are going to start to pop. That's where this guy comes in. But after that first thing in the morning, okay, now I still want to throw my frog. Where am I going to throw it? I'm going to throw it around some spawning areas. Well, a lot of the spawning stuff, the visual beds that everybody's been looking at and everybody's been poking at and throwing Cincos on and drop shots on and chatterbaits through and all those poor fish. I'm going to be fishing in the middle of the lake. I'm going to be fishing tomorrow. I'm going to stay 300 to 700 yards off the bank. And I'm going over there specifically to find weed stadiums. Weed stadiums are milfoil, Elodea, Egeria densa, whatever weed vegetation you have that is attached to the bottom, not primrose that's floating, that's attached to the bottom. And I'm looking for the densest stuff that there is. It's going to be so perfect tomorrow. We got that full moon. We just so that growth has been, I've been watching, I've been setting this up. It's going to be so cool. That grass is going to be about that far below the surface. The water's clearing up. I'm going to be able to see the rings of this stuff. And I'm going to be looking for holes, weed stadiums, the size of a basketball to the size of the hood of a Volkswagen. And this guy's going to go right into the back edge. It's going to land right on the back edge of that weed hole. Sit. When I bob the nose with this guy, I call it the Texas double chirp. Me and my buddy Shane, we're like, what can we call this? I live in Texas now. If I lived in California still, we'd probably still call it the Texas double chirp because that just sounds cooler than the California double chirp. I'm going to throw on the back side of that weed stadium. Chirp, chirp, just short, sharp, chirp, chirp. This guy here, with these little feet right here, when it goes, it creates the coolest little bubble trail. And this thing goes, it hits down, it goes, pop, 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 it stops. Pop, 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 it stops. This guy stops, and this guy, we got a little extra weight back here. When this guy stops, it's got a little tilt to it like that. When this guy stops, it's still doing the little move. Oh! Wait till you see some of the video that I'm going to put out next week. And if you just watch when I stop this thing, chirp, 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 chirp. When it finishes, when do they eat a rip bait?
Yep.
That line jumps, that line ticks. When do they eat a Cinco for the most part? Wiggle, 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 pitch, wiggle, 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 wiggle. You're watching your line, you're watching your line, you're watching your line, your line stops, and it goes thunk, thunk, starts to move up. When do they eat a crankbait? Wine, 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 stop. Wine, 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 stop. Wine. Got it. She ate it on the stop. Change of direction. They love that. They're suckers for it. My little weed stadiums is going to get a heavy, heavy dose of this tomorrow, especially where it's touching the surface. It's places that you would love to see. When I found this particular pattern, it was late 80s. It was late 80s, and it was in Big Break on the California Delta, fishing for stripers. I knew where the grass was last fall. So I know that bait fish likes to be around grass, blah, blah, all that stuff. So I would throw my rattle traps around that grass way offshore. Oh my gosh, that's an 8-pound largemouth. What's that thing doing? Huh? That was in the fall. And then I would go back out there in the spring. And then as spring progressed, they got bigger and bigger and bigger. The bass got bigger and bigger. They were large. Oh my gosh, I catch largemouth, and then largemouth would quit, and they turn into stripers. Largemouth, whenever you have a situation like that, a California Delta tidal situation, the largemouth always eat before the A1 predator does. It's so cool. Anyway, but those weed stadiums, the whole key, where that basketball hole is in the center of those weeds, it's a hard spot. It's a sandy spot. The weeds can't grow there. It's a perfect spawning environment. So when I throw this thing to that little patch of grass and I go chirp, 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 every 3.5 to 6 pound bass that I'm going to catch for the next 2 days, I'm going to get to watch charge from the bottom of those holes. I can fish that thing as slow as I want to. I can fish it as fast as they want me to. I'm not going to do the throw a drop shot in there. That's too easy. Yeah. I want to do this.
Right.
And that's what I'm going to do. And it's going to be very, very cool.
That's awesome.
So if you have, this is a bummer. I was doing on Gunnersville, my buddy Dan O'Sullivan, we were doing a Facebook Live. I went down there for a Gunnersville Snag Proof Open one year, a few years back. And we were doing a Facebook Live, and he says, hey, he picked me up at the dock. We're doing a Facebook Live. We're here. We're going to do a frog thing. I go, we're going to get the pre-fish it all. No, we're live. We're going. Okay, cool. Let's see if we can catch a fish. All right. I've never fished this cove. I've only been on Gunnersville a few times. Let's go across. My phone rings, and it's Randy Howell. He says, hey, is that you in my cove, Bobby? Hey, Randy, what's going on? Anyway, we get over, and I'm looking at the train of this thing. We're supposed to try and catch a fish in this cove I've never been to. We're doing a Facebook Live thing, all that stuff. And I went, whoa, wait a minute here. And I'm looking down. I mean, as I'm going across the bay in this boat, trying to find some grass that I can throw this frog in, I'm going across. It's not 11 feet deep. 11, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Oh! And I look up and I look out in front of me and I can see some grass, some milfoil that deep. And then I see a hole that looked like a beach in Cabo San Lucas in the middle of this hole that is 300 yards off the bank. And I went, oh man, Dano, wait a minute. Let's do this. Can that camera show this? And what I said was, guys, I know this is supposed to be a frog thing and all that kind of stuff, but we're here. This is a learning thing. Let's talk about what we just bumped into right here. And this was in June or July. This was in June. And I said, if I lived here on Gunnersville, guys, listen up here. If I lived here on Gunnersville, and there's some guys maybe that are listening to this podcast, this Facebook Live thing right now that want to shoot me, but you see this right here? See where the bank is? You can barely see the bank. You see this? See that landmass? It comes out, makes kind of a point. You can barely tell because of the tree line back there. But if you looked at the contours of the bank, you can tell that there's some sort of a point right there. That point comes way out here. There's grass on it, but look at the hole in this grass. And it's 4.5 feet deep in the middle of that hole. If I fish this lake, I would have a dozen of these on my GPS. And I'm going to throw my chatterbait. I'm going to throw my rattle trap. I'm going to throw my whatever. I'm going to slow roll a spinnerbait through this stuff. That outer ridge, they're going to feed around that outer ridge. They're going to spawn right there, and these fish are never going to the bank.
Yep.
And one of the guys, does anybody have any questions? One of the Dano says, hey, there's one guy that's got a question here. When are you guys going to catch a fish? That was, if I was fishing tournaments, I would never mention that.
Yeah.
I would never talk about, that was my whole thing until I started punching. That was my whole gig on the Delta and on Clear Lake. Fish out in the middle. They don't get beat up. Yeah. And there's a lot more fish out there than there is up here. And these ones that are up here that everybody can see, they get clobbered. Those are Rhodes Scholar bass. I got to fish for low IQ fish.
So you mentioned Gunnersville. I know Gunnersville's famous for it. Even around here, some of the lakes that they get a lot of pressure. you see those frog trails going through the vegetation, and you see all these things going all over the place. Do you just bypass that? Do you not even look at that?
I really want to say that doesn't matter. It does, but if you're there when it's going down, so community holes become community holes because they're very, very appealing to bass. When you're there, when they eat in that community hole, it's special. It's awesome. It's like, wow, but everybody knows about it. So the fish become very conditioned. And then everybody forgets about the community hole until somebody pulls in there the last 27 minutes of a tournament and catches a 4 and a 6. And then it becomes the community hole again because that's where he won the tournament. Well, anyway, my whole thing, it's a moon thing. Okay. It's a moon thing. It's a lunar thing. This place that you're talking about, it's got a lot of tracks on it, either because it's close to a marina, it's close to a launch ramp, it's easy to get to, or if it's something that's a ways away and it's got a lot, it's just a great area. I won a lot of tournaments on moss that had lots of lines in it.
Okay.
If you have a situation like that, what you don't want to see are drag lines. You got there too late. It's over. It's done. Yeah. Or these are from yesterday evening. Somebody came out here and had target practice on this stuff.
Yeah.
When you start dealing the 3.5, 3.75 pound bass and above, very high IQ, very aware of his surroundings, very always aware, I believe, of everything around him. Trolling motor, outside noises, movement, all of that stuff. You've got to, when you get in those situations, if your buddy weighs 325, man, don't walk around in the boat. Don't put pressure waves out there. Sit in the back chair. Don't rock the boat when you cast. Don't drop your rod on the, don't turn your radio on. I've got all my electronics off. Again, my favorite depth, 6 to 18 inches. That's where I want to be. Unless I want to go do what I'm going to do tomorrow. There's lots of different ways to skin a cat. Shit, use that. But lots of different ways to get this thing done. However you want to do it. As long as you got confidence in it, you can do it. You can make it happen. If you stay with it long enough, you will make it happen. And you will build confidence that will allow you to keep it together, to do it again and do it again and get better at it and get better at it. Next thing you know, you really know what you're doing and when you're doing it. Getting back to the 16, 14-day thing, those is one of the biggest mistakes people make. I don't know if what you're talking about, if we were looking at it through tournament eyes, a guy has let's say today is Saturday. I have a tournament next Saturday. I am going to go to Sam Rayburn today. And I'm going to go hit a couple of these mats that you're talking, hay grass, maybe some duckweed, maybe some Sylvania has pulled up into this pocket. I don't get any frog bites. It's perfect. I get no bites. My tournament's next Saturday. I'm in a panic, man. Oh, dude, I wanted to win on a frog. I have just so jacked myself.
Right.
Because I am getting ready for a tournament that is 7 days away. Today. And I have destroyed myself right here, the most important part of this whole game. Like Dobbins told me back in the day, dude, the whole key to tournament fishing is take your bait, make good decisions, and execute your decisions. That's what it is. So you have this great frog situation. You can't get bit in it. You're not even coming back here next week. The guy wins the tournament here next week. And you are like, How did he win? I checked that last Saturday. Because you don't get it.
Yeah.
Everything is on a 2-week cycle. Deer hunting, turkey hunting. You want to go shoot a mountain goat, Boone and Crockett this, Boone and Crockett. Those, all them guys that are doing Boone and Crockett, they get the moon. They understand. Everybody else, dude, don't tell me about. I made a living off the moon.
Yeah.
My guiding, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I had 5-star, 4, 3, 2, 1-star days. All my big tipper guys got a 4 or 5-star day.
Yeah.
All the other guys, 2 or 3-star day. If he wants Wednesdays, he gets 4 or 5-star Wednesdays. I won't offer him a 2 or 3-star Wednesday. I won't. I'm going to stack the deck as much as I can. And that's what you've got to do. You got to know a little bit about the moon before you lose your mind about this frog situation here. Look at all these lines. Look at all these tracks. We see all these lines. We see all these tracks, but we don't see any drag marks. These guys are just all going through the motions. And every one of these guys is just throwing a frog to throw a frog so they can tell their buddy, yeah, I threw a frog all morning long. I never got bit. That's the only reason. A lot of them guys, that's the only reason they're throwing a frog.
Gotcha.
But a guy that's fishing a frog, not throwing a frog, but fishing a frog, that's a whole different animal.
Okay. So don't be intimidated by those marks necessarily. That's not necessarily not a bad thing.
Absolutely not. But what I would do is start paying attention to grab any Lunar tables and just play with it for a while. Just play for a season, for a spring, for a couple of weeks. I don't care. Give it a shot. Don't be the guy that takes his family, plans this vacation to wherever, takes the whole family, hotel room, rents a boat, rents some guys, all that stuff, and have the marina operator the first morning you get there say, y'all should have been here last week.
Yeah.
Don't be that guy.
So what do you?
Lunar tables are real. So look at that kind of stuff before all your confidence is drowned out. Whether you're throwing spinnerbait, chatterbait, frog, I don't care. That stuff is real. It's real.
So can I ask you a question?
It's so real. I've done, call it 10 TV shows. Okay, different. Real in the Outdoors, Joe Thomas, Jared Edwards Outdoor, Sportsman 360, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We've caught stripers to 40 pounds on film. Carl Kalanka came down, extreme angler. We had 3 bass over 6 pounds on a frog. Should have had 4. That's on film. Hard to do. We planned that trip. We planned that trip 18 months in advance. That date. Wow. Joe Thomas. Hey, I want to do a striper show. Topwater stripers. Can we do that? Yeah, we'll do big ones. Really? Okay. When? I can't do it this year, Bobby. How about next year? What's a good month? I'll tell you right now. Looked at my tides, moons. We can do it September 18 or 19. We can do it October 21 or 23. You pick those. I gave you 4 days, 2 years, a year and a half from now. I gave you 4 days. You pick one of those 4 days. We will get the opportunities to get you a good show. Not stripers to 40 pounds. First one that we had on was over 25. I broke up.
Wow.
The moon is real.
So what do you think's
it's
happening? What do you think is happening when you go out like a day before an event and you're getting lots of bites on a frog? And I've did this. And my hook's bent down.
Testing.
Yeah, I've got you, Bobby. I've got you.
Did I say something wrong?
No. You're good. All good.
Are you mad at me, Matt? Matt, are you mad? Are you going to put me in a timeout, Matt?
I am not going to put you in a timeout at all, ever. But no. So it's really interesting. You know, me personally, recreational angler, tournament angler, I kind of pay attention to those tables, but I'm fishing no matter what. Now, I do look towards those if I had an extraordinary day or if something's going on, you know, this time of year, especially springtime. I'll glimpse at those, but I don't necessarily try to base trips off. I still go fishing, fish those tougher times, but yeah, those tables, they don't lie.
Right. For example, and we'll just use the Delta. We'll just use the Delta. The Delta is, you'll notice that a lot of the guys that come out that go to Bass Elite, all that kind of stuff, they got Delta roots. The Delta is the Delta in Clear Lake, Clear Lake, Shasta, Oroville. I think it's the greatest, let's just say for out west, it's the greatest training grounds for being an elite professional at some point in time. You will learn how to fish with 4-pound test. You will learn how to fish with a 100-pound test. You will learn how to fish in 6 inches of water. You will learn how to fish over the top of 320 feet of water, fishing buoys by the dam over 320. You will learn sun angles, shade, shadows, all that. And I don't know. But when it comes to I don't know. I just, all I'm saying is that moon thing, just play with it. Just play with it.
It's real for sure. And there are definitely times where, man, that peak, like, so perfect example of this too, Bobby, is 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, went muskie fishing. Those guys are crazy about those tables. They live and die by those things, and peak feeding, and you know, man, we're coming up on a peak time of the day. Like, they get absolutely aggressive with it.
Absolutely. So I'll mention one. I'll try. I don't know how long we can do this, but for example, let's just use the Delta real quick. I've got high tide this week. Let's say it's a full moon phase. I've got high tide this weekend. I go down south, Coney Island. I wait for that water to drop for an hour. First thing in the morning, that water's high. It's just sitting there. I got no shot of catching nothing unless I throw a Cinco over there and let it sit for about an hour and a half. So I'm just wasting my time. I should have stayed in the cafe and just had a couple more cups of coffee. Anyway, so I let that water come down. I'm looking at the rocks. Water's up there. Water. I see water. I see rocks. I see water. I see gray rocks. I see water. I see gray rocks. And then it's 7 o'clock. I see water, gray rocks. Water, gray rocks. It's 7:50. I see water. I see dark for about 1.5 inches, and I see gray rocks. And my second throw with the chatterbait, I catch a 6. My 9th throw with the chatterbait, I catch an 8. I keep throwing. Then I got a 4.25. I got 3 good ones. Now I can see about that much. It was that much of a little dark spot on the rock. Now it's, anyway. Then I scramble around the rest of the day and I do my thing, and I punch some stuff late, and you end up winning the tournament. You got 31 pounds. You got 29, whatever. I can't do that next Saturday. I roll in there next Saturday. I can't there's no water up there.
Yeah.
I can't get my boat to where I won the tournament last weekend with those 3 key fish. I can't get there. That's how much it changes.
Yeah.
That is this weekend, they're eating a chatterbait. Next weekend, you can sell all your chatterbaits, because if you're not on the bottom, you ain't getting bit.
Yeah.
It's that.
Yeah.
And when you guide on a body of water where the water goes up and down, and there's 4 tides in a 25-hour period, and nothing sits still, you better understand the moon. You better understand tides if you want to make a living at it. And I did that for 22, 23 years. So
just one quick question, Bobby.
It was full real.
One question. You know, watching all the Bass the movie, watching, you know, those legendary films that you did out there, turning frogs into toads, all of those great videos. Is the Delta just not what it was? Is it not legendary as it once was? Is it struggling?
Well, I'm here in Texas because Jesus had a plan for us. He wanted us here. That's why I'm here in Texas. But a lot of that has to do with the Delta and the condition that it's in, and where I saw that it was going. Okay. I became very good friends. I was a water advocate. I was a save the Delta. Yeah, let's fight the fight. I was that guy for 14 years. Yeah. And we just couldn't get no momentum. Bass fishermen are the most apathetic crew. I got so many attaboy. Hey, Bobby, you got a good job, man. Hey, I saw you in Sacramento last week. Dude, I saw you. Hey, man, good job. Dude, I had to work. Hey, dude, you know.
Yeah.
I get it. I get it. Everybody's, I'm not busy. I don't have to cancel $700 days. I got a couple key clients, $100 to $300 tips,
Yeah.
$500. Hey, because hey, we got a rally in Sacramento. We're fighting this thing. Okay, cool. I got to call my client. Hey, I can't make wins. I got to do this. Yeah. I've become this poster boy for fighting for the Delta, and it's not going to look good if I'm not there fighting the fight. So can we reschedule? Man, I hate to drop this on you. Yeah, sure, man, no problem. I'll call my client. Yeah, CEO of Sun Microsystem. Yeah, I'll break the news to him. You know, I mean, but these guys, oh, dude, I couldn't sign the petition. I ran out of ink on my pen. I mean, every excuse there was.
Yeah.
So, and I was out there. I was on the river, whether I was guiding, looking for client water, looking for tournament water. I was on the water on the Delta, 300, 310, 320 a year. I saw what they were doing. I watched what Schwarzenegger started. And I knew I could see where it was going. I saw the science from UC Davis and where they were going with it. I saw the science that Resnick was buying that was not in our best interest. Guys, we got to rally, or once this thing starts going downhill, we're not going to be able to stop it. Dude, you're doing a good job, man. Keep it up. Hey, but can we I'll rent a bus, man. We can get everybody to where we can all drive and we'll take everybody up there in a bus. Man, I just can't make it. Hey, dude, there was me and like two other guys.
Yeah, that's really, really unfortunate because, a kid from the Midwest watching what was going on out there, I was like, man, I could feel that it was a special place even from here and from your videos. And I was, that was like the place that I wanted to go. And it's just super unfortunate.
I'll tell you what, I mean, it will never be what it was. The Sacramento will never allow the Delta to be what it was. The last thing that California wants, the last thing that California Department of Fish and Wildlife wants is a 12-pound spotted bass on the cover of Bass Angler magazine. They don't want to see a 23-pound bass coming out of the state of California. They do not. That state, water is for drinking and to make money with. It's not to recreate and fish in. It's not. But Clear Lake is, if you have any aspect, instead of going to the Delta, go up the street to Clear Lake. Okay. Clear Lake is back. Clear Lake's going through one of those legendary cycles right now that is so special. I can sit here and tell you how wonderful it is and how wonderful, I think Disneyland's evil, but how wonderful, I don't want to call it Disneyland, how wonderful of a bass haven it is, which it truly is. Yeah. It's fixing to go through the next 2-3 years. If they don't do something stupid to that place, it's going to be like it's already jaw dropping. It's fixing to go through the cycle that it went through in the late 80s. Then it went through it went through it again in the early 2000s. It's going through it again right now. And where there are literally schools, you will find schools of, I mean, it's just 4-pounder after 4-pounder after 4-pounder after 4. There's no 5s, there's no 3.5s, there's 4s. 4 to 424, 419, 411, 410, 409, 413. It's amazing. And then with the same thing, you go punch the scratch, punch 5-pound football, 19 inches long, weighs 5 pounds. It's like this. Yeah. 5-pounder, 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 5-pounder. Clear Lake's the only place that I made like 12 drops and had 6 over 5 without starting my outboard. I mean, and they're all footballs.
Yeah.
But there's schools of 6 and 7 pounders. It's fixing to go down. Set your sights on Clear. It's what a special place that is.
Well, Bobby, I truly appreciate your time. I can see the sun's going down on you there. So
Yeah, I'm sitting there in a cave, right?
So we'll let you go, but where can people follow you? Where can people follow this action and all of the zoo baits, all of that fun stuff? Where's a good place for folks to start looking you up?
You can get most of the product at bobbybarrack.com, americanbaitworks.com. And my stuff is Bobby Barrack 1, Bobby, Bobby, Barrack, B as in boy, Arrack 1 at Instagram. And I've got a YouTube channel that's got some pretty cool educational stuff on it. If you're a fishing junkie, if you're fishing full like most of us are, you'll enjoy some of that stuff, and maybe learn a thing or two.
Well, like I said, Bobby, thank you for your time. This is
and let me say this too. The whole key to really having a full live well all the time is to get your priorities right. And this is a big deal with me, especially over the last 6-7 years. Faith, family, and fishing. If you keep your priorities like that, faith, top, family, and fishing, get your spiritual live well full, and everything else will fall in place.
There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. Again, thank you, Bobby, for your time. This has been amazing. I hope we can have you back on, because man, we didn't even start with the knowledge that you have. And again, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. And everybody, tune in next week to see what we have in store for you. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Limit Podcast. Again, thank you, Bobby. Get somebody out in the outdoors. If you have a neighbor, if you have a kid down the street, get them in the outdoors. Take them fishing. Take them hunting. Get them out there and get them in the outdoors.
That's right.
We'll see you guys next week.
Okay, y'all take care.